In the NFL, it's considered a luxury to have one good back. But for the Detroit Lions, they don't just have one, they have two that could potentially be great and join a club that is very, very limited. We're going to talk about it in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned.
We used to be a team no one respected. We used to be a team no one feared. That was then. This is now.
First victory of the year on the line. Goff's got it. Back, looks, throws, end zone. Yes! Caught!
You know who we are.
10-5, end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions!
And you know where to find us. We won't be far. We'll be on your front porch waiting for you. We are the New Era Lions. And
we are driven by Detroit.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving in right now. But before we dive in, I just want to again say to everybody that is coming back, thank you all for your view, thank you all for your support, thank you all for your patronage. It means the world to me that I have such loyal subscribers, that I have such loyal fans, and I'm thankful for each and every one of y'all. And to those that are tuning into my show for the very first time, I just want to say, welcome on in. I hope y'all enjoy the content, I hope y'all enjoy the show. But even more so, I hope to gain y'all subscribers if I've earned and deserved it. And with that being said, to everybody, I just want to say God bless. I hope y'all having a good day, and let's get into it. So, here's the thing, folks. When we talk about the Detroit Lions, at least ever since Dan Campbell came here, at least ever since he got here, Campbell has emphasized that this was going to be a team that was going to be tough and it was going to be gritty. And that it was going to be that the identity of the team was going to be based around that thought process. But that thought process gets started with this team's ability to run the football, to be a ground and pound team of the football. And you got to think about it here. Ever since Campbell came to town, we have been very, very efficient in running the football. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's think about it. Dan Campbell became the head coach in 2021, so this is his third year being the head coach of the Lions. If you go back to 2021 until now, and yes, I know we got one game left, but think about this, folks. In 2021, we were the 19th ranked rushing attack. We were tied 11th, though, in terms of rushing average. So if we're wanting to talk about total yards, maybe wasn't there. But in terms of quality of rushes, we were actually doing pretty good. We were just outside of the top 10. Then you go to 2022. We were ranked 11th in total rushing yards, so a significant jump from 2021, and we went down to 15 in terms of rushing average. Now, here's the thing. Our rushing average went up by 0.1 in actual total value. But I think the reason why we went down in the rankings a little bit is because, well, you have to take in comparison to what other teams are doing that year. But also, let's think about it. We were running the ball significantly a lot more in 2022 than what we did in 2021. Now we get to 2023. Now take a look where we're at in the rankings. We're ranked 4th in terms of total rushing yards, and we're ranked 5th in terms of rushing average. So not only do we have an offense that's able to pick up a lot of yards on the ground in total, but in terms of qualitative measure, in terms of the amount of yards we're picking up per rush, we're also one of the best. We have a top 5 rushing offense, just like how we have a top 5 passing offense. So again, what am I pointing out here? One, ever since Campbell has gotten here, we've made sure to run the ball and run the ball effectively. But also every single year, we have continued to get better in how we run the ball. Again, we started out at 19 in terms of total rushing yards. That was in 2021. In 2023, we've gone from 19th in the league to 4th in the league. That's a pretty significant amount of jumping in the last 2 years. That's pretty important to put out there and to recognize. But this is a year that could really, truly, unequivocally be something special for the Detroit Lions organization. And that's saying something. That's really saying something in terms of running the ball. Because you got to think about it here. The Detroit Lions have had some really, really good running backs in its time. But by far, the best, the greatest running back that the Lions have ever had, and arguably one of the greatest of all time, if not, in my honest opinion, the greatest running back of all time, is Barry Sanders. And you got to take a look at all the accomplishments that Barry Sanders truly had as an individual player. He was the Lions' last MVP of the league in 1997. He also joined the 2,000-yard rushing club by one player in a season in 1997. He had an All-Pro appearance every single year that he was in the NFL from 1989 until he retired. He was in the Pro Bowl every single year that he played. That's impressive. All-Pros every single year and Pro Bowls every single year. And in 1991, he was the NFL's rushing touchdown leader. And like I said, 1997 was when he joined the 2,000-yard club. But think about it. There's only 8 running backs that are even in that club. That's a pretty prestigious club just because of the sheer amount of yards. But just think about it. There's not even 10 running backs in NFL history that have even cracked that list. That's pretty prestigious. And that is what, Barry Sanders means to this Detroit Lions team and to the city of Detroit. He is considered one of, if not the greatest running back of all time, and he's associated with us. So that makes him a very, very beloved figure here in Detroit. But I was talking about how this year could be something truly special for the Lions organization. Think about this one, folks. Like I said, the Lions' Barry Sanders, back in 1997, cracked that 1 out of 8 list for 2,000 yards rushing in a season. But think about this. The Lions, at the end of this year, could add an they could add an equally prestigious award and honor to themselves. They could do it. Think about it, folks. I'm so excited right now. I'm kind of tripping over myself. But think about this. They literally could be one of only 7 teams, when they do it, if they do it, it'd be one of 8 teams. They could be one of 8 teams in NFL history that has the ability to say that they've had 2 1,000-yard rushers on the same team. Think about that. Currently in NFL history, there are only 7 teams that have had 2 1,000-yard rushers on the same team at the same time. That's pretty impressive. That means, in total, out of all the NFL rushers that you could have had, out of all the years that the NFL has been up and running, you've only had 7 teams that have had a total of 14 rushers that at the same time ran for 1,000 yards apiece to get 2,000 or more total rushing yards together. And I'm not going to go over all of them because that's a lot of names and that's a lot of stats, but rather what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this list up on the screen so that way you guys can see it. And let me tell you something. There's some pretty prestigious names on that list, such as Franco Harris, such as Larry Zonka, Michael Vick. There's some pretty prestigious names on that list. There's some pretty big-time runners on that list. But think about this, folks. Only 7 teams. And look at this, 1972, 76, 85, 06, 08, 09, and then 19. The Lions could, in theory, become the latest one to join that list, and the first one to join that list in 4 years. So that right there is something that could be truly special for the Lions. Now, who are the 2 running backs that we're talking about here? Obviously, who we're talking about here is Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And let's just be fair and honest to them. They have been absolutely lights out all year for this Lions ball club. And you got to think about it here. Montgomery actually missed a couple of games because of injury, and there were quite a couple of games where Gibbs didn't even play a whole lot. And both of them have almost cracked 1,000 yards rushing. Now, how far away are both of those 2 from actually joining the club? Because both of them have to crack 1,000 yards together to join the club. Well, for Gibbs, he's got 915 yards rushing on the season, so he's 85 yards away. That's a pretty substantial amount of yards, but it's not unfeasible. Then you take a look at Montgomery. Montgomery has 975 yards. He only needs 25. So together, for both of them to join that club, they need 110 yards total. That's very achievable for a one Sunday afternoon. Because you got to think about it. The Lions have been a team that have routinely run the ball for 100 plus yards every single game, except on very, very few occasions. So for me, it's very achievable for Gibbs to get 85 yards. It's very achievable for Montgomery to get 25 yards. So think about it here, folks. You have the ability to set a to set something up for this Lions organization that has only been done 7 other times in NFL history up to this point. That's a very prestigious honor. That is something that would mean a lot to a lot of Lions fans, along with all the other stuff that has happened this year. First division crown in 30 years, a home playoff game for the first time in 30 years, hopefully a playoff win for the first time in 30 plus years. There's a lot that this game could potentially really give the Lions going into the postseason here. So that means that if you think about it, there's a huge opportunity here for the Lions to really do something special in more ways than one with this game. But we're talking about Montgomery, we're talking about Gibbs. Now here's the thing. Who are Montgomery and Gibbs going up against this week? That would be the Minnesota Vikings. Now, remember, we played the Vikings 2 weeks ago, and in that game, the Vikings gave up 135 yards to both Gibbs and Montgomery. Now, how did that split out? Gibbs got 80 yards rushing, so he only had 5 yards less than what he totally needs for this week to crack the 1,000-yard club. Montgomery got 55, so double what he would need. So, in my honest opinion, again, it's very, very, very feasible. Now, to just give a little bit of a side credit towards the Minnesota Vikings, the Vikings are the 9th overall rush defense in terms of total yards, because they've given up only 1,608 yards on the ground this year. And they're also tied 5th in rushing average given up because they're giving up only 3.8 on the ground. So again, it's not like the Vikings are just going to open up the freaking, the lanes of running ability for the Lions to just let Gibbs and Montgomery do as they so see fit. But to me, I think that it's very, very possible that Gibbs and Montgomery could join that club this week because, again, it's not like either one has to rush for over 100 yards to get to 1,000 yards. They only need 85 and 25 yards. That's very doable. That is a very, very feasible achievement. So for me, it's like, listen, as far as a personal level for these players, it's definitely something that can happen. But take into something else into consideration here. The Lions are going to be at home. I've said this before, and everybody knows it. When the Lions are at home, they are a completely different animal on offense. And they are extremely explosive at home. Case in point, think about this. On the total of the year, the Lions on average rush for about 140 yards a game, which is 5th best in the NFL right now, mind you. At home, the Lions have rushed for 1,038 yards, and they average almost 5 yards a carry when they run at home. So when their offense is at home, they're almost picking up 5 yards a pop when they run the ball. And you have to think about this. The Lions have only been at home 8 games this year. This is going to be their 8th game at home. So currently, as it stands right now, they've been on the road 9 times to being at home only 7. This is their last game, which makes it 8. So there's a substantial gap in difference between their home yards and their away yards right now. Because if you take a look at on the road, the Lions on the road have only garnered they've garnered 1,203 yards, but for only 4.5 an average. So again, there's about a 200-yard difference in total yards, but again, the difference on the road versus at home is a pretty staggering difference. It's almost a half a yard difference in terms of average per rush. So what am I getting at here? What I'm getting at is I totally expect, in my honest opinion, that the Lions are going to join that 2,000-yard running back duo club as the 8th team. Because again, you have to think about this from multiple perspectives. Number one, the Lions are going to be at home. They are definitely going to be on their A game, number one. Number two, like I said in another episode, and I'll put that episode back up at the top as well. Think about it. The Lions are going to use all the motivation that they got from that Dallas loss, and Dan Campbell's going to have them ready to play. I guarantee you this. The Lions are going to have themselves a lot of opportunities to pick up all those yards on the ground, and it should be a very fun outing for our running backs. So that's number two. But then, number three, just in large part, you have to think about it. This game has a lot of opportunities for the Lions to make history or to tie history. So again, you have the motivation for vengeance. You have the motivation for domination. You have the motivation to have your name in the record books. You have your motivation to just beat a division rival. You have your motivation to get further into the playoffs because you get a potentially higher playoff seeding. There's a lot of things going into this game where the Lions are going to have all the motivation necessary and needed to go out and say, oh yeah, we're going to pull off some special things. We're going to do something special here. And again, I'm not trying to sound snobbish. I'm not trying to sound snarky. I'm not trying to sound, bullish or whatever else when it comes to the Vikings. I know the Vikings, they're going to be playing for a playoff berth because they have to win if they're even going to have a shot to get into the playoffs. But it's like, listen, I hate to say it. I just feel sorry for the Vikings because it's like, listen, you're coming into our home element. You just got spanked by the Packers in your home element to the tune of almost actually, it was a 3-score game, pardon me. It's like, listen, folks, this is going to be a game where I think the Lions are not only going to bully the Vikings, I think they're going to bully them through the ground, over the air, and they're going to just do whatever they want for the most part. Whether or not they do that on defense has yet to be seen. But I'm telling you this right now. Much like I said in my previous episode, I'm going to say it in this episode when it comes to the running backs. I think we're going to see the Lions make history in terms of becoming that eighth team to join the running back duo club, and I think we're going to see a very dominating game from them as well from the rest of the Lions. But we shall see what happens come Sunday. I'm looking forward to it, but until that time, I just want to say to y'all, thank y'all for watching another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I just want to say thank y'all for watching this show, and I also want to say, you know what? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It absolutely means the world to me that I have such loyal subscribers and fans. And as such, if you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and I had a chance to do so, again, I want to highly encourage y'all, please, to subscribe to the channel. Please, 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 it helps me out. But even more so, I also want to encourage y'all, please, make sure you turn on that bell notification icon as well, so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Again, the more times that we get people in, the better, because again, the subscription numbers are always going up, but we want you guys to keep coming back to the channel so that way the channel grows and continues to do better. To help in that endeavor as well, I want to also encourage y'all to share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. Again, the more we do that, the more we get people in, the better the channel does, the better the channel spreads, the better the channel grows. And with that being said, I just want to say to everybody, thank you all for watching the show. Hope you all enjoyed the content. Thank you all for everything that you do. Hopefully I gained your subscription, and if so, I just want to welcome you all to the MCM family. And if not, hopefully I'll get you on the next try, and hopefully I'll get you then. But until that next time, I just want to say to everybody, God bless, and until the next episode, I'll see you all later.